Hello, I'm Kaya Diril, and my subject is customs dimensions of e-commerce problems and solutions. First of all, I hope you're all alright and healthy. Um, Firstly, I want to start with the meaning of e-commerce. What is e-commerce? E-commerce as an electronic commerce is the trading or facilitation of trading in products or services using computer networks such as the internet or online social networks like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever you say. Electronic commerce draws on technologies such as mobile commerce, electronic funds transfer, supply chain management, internet marketing, online transaction processing, electronic data interchange, EDI in short, inventory management systems, and automated data collection systems. Modern electronic commerce typically uses the World Wide Web, WWW, for at least one part of the transaction lifecycle, although it may also use other technologies such as email. Some companies do this, like AliExpress sellers sometimes reach out to you through emails. They started to do this more since the start of coronavirus. I'm gonna talk about coronavirus at in the online classroom tomorrow actually. I'm sending this on the 5th of May, just before the class. If you look at the history of e-commerce, e-commerce was introduced 40 years ago and continues to grow with new technologies, innovations, and thousands of businesses entering the online market each year. The convenience is safety, and user experience of e-commerce has improved exponentially since its inception in the 1970s. How e-commerce website received orders in 1970s, you might ask. Paving the way for electronic commerce was the development of the electronic data interchange, or EDI, like I mentioned before. EDI replaced traditional mailing and faxing of documents with a digital transfer of data from one computer to another. It used to take a lot, like 500 megabyte worth of data used to take like 8 to 10 hours. Some of you might know this if you were playing games on your computers when you were young. For me, I used to play Warcraft and Starcraft, and Starcraft was around 8 to 10 gigabytes, and then it took me around a week or two to download it because data transfer was new at the time. In Turkey, that is. Because everything comes 20 years late to us. Trading partners could transfer orders, invoices, and other business transactions using a data format that met the CIACC X12, the predominant set of standards in North America. We just started using this, or so my research told me that we started using this in the early 2000s, when America started using it in 1970s. Whatever. Once an order is sent, it is then examined by a WAN, value-added network, and finally directed to the recipient's order processing system. EDI allowed the transfer of data seamlessly without any human intervention, because humans can make mistakes like faxing the wrong file. It happened a lot of times. Platforms of e-commerce are B2B, business to business, B2C, business to customer, C2C, customer to customer, C2B, customer to business, B2E, business to employee, B2G, business to government. I'm gonna go on and explain them a bit. The student before me is doing the e-commerce exports. He might have also explained these, but these are important, since if you don't know what e-commerce is, we wouldn't know how to proceed with the customs side of things. So yeah. B2B, or business to business. If your business is focused on selling products or services to other companies, your model is called B2B, or business to business. In contrast to with business to consumer or consumer to business models, B2B facilitates the transfer of raw materials, parts, and components from which additional profit is derived through manufacturing or final sales to consumer. B2B e-commerce, or e-biz that is usually called, is a slightly more evolved version of commerce. This type of e-commerce is the electronic exchange of business documents among businesses for the purpose of conducting commerce. This began with the EDI, which meant electronic data interchange, which started in late 1960s or early 1970s, if you want to go back to that part. Trading partners within supply chain networks are typical participants as they exchange electronic documents in support of the purchasing of goods and services. B2B e-commerce is used for contract manufacturing, customs declaration, global trade compliance, order management, and supply chain logistics. By using B2B e-commerce, companies can improve communications among partners and enhance the purchasing experience from business to business. Business to customer, or B2C. In a business to consumer e-commerce environment, companies sell their online goods to consumers who are the end users of their products or services. Usually B2C e-commerce web shops have an open access for any visitor and user. C2C, or customer to customer or consumer to consumer. In a consumer to consumer e-commerce environment, consumers sell their goods to other consumers. A well-known example is OLX. In this C2C platform, you usually earn the money through advertisements, like some companies do on Instagram. Customer to business, C2B. In a consumer to business e-commerce environment, consumers usually post their products or services online on which companies can post their bids. A consumer reviews the bids and selects the company that meets his price expectations. Examples are Naukri.com, matrimonial sites. I'm gonna leave the links on the YouTube page down below. I'm also linking the research papers I use on this, presentation. Business to employee, B2E. The term B2E is frequently used to refer to the B2E portal, sometimes called a people portal, which is customized homepage or desktop for everyone within an organization. The B2E portal is sometimes considered to be synonymous with an intranet, but it differs in its focus on the employee's desires. The intranet's focus is organization, the B2E portal focuses the individual. The B2E portal is designed to include not only everything that an employee might hope to find on an intranet, such as corporate directory or customer support information, but also any personal information and links that an employee might want, such as stocks information and other stuff. The intention is to increase not only efficiency but also employee satisfaction and a sense of community within the organization. Business to government, B2G. Business to government, B2G, is a derivative of B2B marketing and often referred to as a market definition of public sector marketing, which encompasses marketing products and services to various government levels, including federal, states, and local. Through integrated marketing communication techniques such as strategic public relations, branding, marcom, advertising, and web-based communications. B2G networks provide a platform for businesses to bid on government opportunities, which are presented as solicitations in the form of RFPs in a reverse auction fashion. Public sector organizations, or PSOs, post tenders in form of RFPs, RFIs, RFQs, sources sought, and etc., and suppliers respond to them. Government agencies typically have a pre-negotiated standing contracts with the vendors, suppliers, and their products and services for set prices. These can be state, local, or federal contracts, and some may be grandfathered in by other entities. I found an example to this as California's MAS, Multiple Award Schedule, that recognizes the federal government contact holders' prices on a General Services Administration schedule. You can Google it as California MAS, and it shows up. There are multiple social platforms dedicated to this vertical market, and they have risen in popularity with the onset of ARRA stimulus program and increased government funds available to commercial entities for both grants and contracts. If you go to the e-commerce side, customs side of things, e-commerce customs clearance, what we need to know, what you need to know, everybody needs to know if you're in the business. I found some statistics through flowship.com. As the global e-commerce landscape grows, sellers have access to the market that is predicted to grow to $130 billion by 2020. by the end of 2020, of course. Many sellers soon find that cross-border e-commerce is plagued by myriads of legal and financial regulations. These regulations differ from country to country, of course. Every country has their own customs and laws according to those customs. Meaning merchants must stay informed of the laws in the country they plan to export to. Like, if I gave an example, it would be in June 2015, the Brazilian government mandated that all imports must carry a label marked with CPF. The CPF is an individual's tax ID number, like our numbers, school numbers. Packages sent without a CPF are returned or destroyed, and the sellers also get fined by the Brazilian customs. This was a big blow to e-commerce sellers in Brazil and out of Brazil who were sending stuff to Brazil, as we all know how hard it is to get customers to give up basic information in the first place. Even I don't want to give some of my information up. By adding the extra step of adding their tax ID, the Brazilian government seems to have made closing a sale harder. But the CPF and other data gathering issues are only a few of many hoops that cross-border sellers must conquer. To some sellers, challenges like custom fees, Turkey, dealing with damaged goods and handling returns are much more difficult to address. Every country has its own regulations concerning imported goods. Customs agencies use the commodity type, quantity, and other factors to determine duties and tax charges. These duties and taxes are based on combination of product price, shipping cost, and the product's harmonization system (HS code). With fees calculated, there are two options for paying them: either delivery duties paid or delivery duties unpaid. By default, these fees are often passed on to the customers to pay the duties and taxes. In using the DDU, delivery duties unpaid option, customers must pay the customs charge due or they will not receive their package. Passing the extra charges to us unsuspecting buyers may reduce your costs, but if they are not expecting any extra charge, they can also decline receipt of the package and your package usually gets destroyed after that. To avoid this, provide clear and visible instructions and on the cost and time frame of shipping goods to overseas customers. Your site can display a notice stating the taxes and custom restrictions of the importing customer's country. Like AliExpress is started doing this. I'm gonna talk about this on the class tomorrow. In the case of a DDP, the merchant works out all custom charges and offers an all-inclusive shipping cost to the customer. This also is a double-edged sword, like Amazon does it, as charging too much will lead to cart abandonment. Charge too little and you'll start to make profit. These fees used to be hard to calculate, but with adoption of the HS code by almost every country, sellers can quickly see what the shipping that thingamajig would cost. To calculate the custom charges required for the goods to be delivered to the customer, here are two accurate tools. The duty calculator by Freightos helps you determine a ballpark figure for any custom fees. UPS site has a more comprehensive tool to help merchants understand the country-specific custom rules. The UPS site also offers great country-specific information that helps you prepare the international selling. For example, what merchants thinking of shipping baby quits from a Chinese supplier to a buyer in Mexico ought to consider. Due to anti-dumping laws, certain goods must carry an original certificate of origin to verify that the commodity is not manufactured in China. Those that don't will be hit with extra anti-dumping duties, which for the baby blanket may be up to 379% of the merchandise value, which is a lot. Getting it wrong with custom duties can lead to destruction or seizure of goods by customs, customer refusing to pay custom charges and possibly requesting a refund, having to pay a fine to customs, losing money by undercharging for shipping. Despite these hiccups, profitable cross-border e-commerce doesn't have to be so difficult. Knowing the cost of getting your products into the hands of international customers can even help e-commerce sellers decide if a market is worth entering in the first place. To maximize compliance and still satisfy their customers, e-commerce sellers should partner with a fulfillment provider that is familiar with international regulations and customer fees. If you are dazed by complexities of VAT or stumped by the intricacies of custom regulations of different countries, it's time you had a chat with the experience fulfillment provided. The research paper I took from Flowship also says that you can get an offer through Flowship as well. They provide that as well. If you look at the www.sg.com, the International E-commerce Export and Custom Issues, there are some things you might want to know, like which basic documents are required for export. Certain documents are required for every export project. This often includes at least a commercial invoice, a packing list, or a delivery note, and a proof of origin in order to benefit from any custom preferences. Depending on where and who you want to deliver your goods to, special requirements may apply. Customer clearance plus custom tariff number, and if you don't know how to proceed, in the ideal case, your forwarding agent will support you in this matter. A customs tariff number, among other things, is essential for the export and import declaration. Free trade agreements and proof of origin. Free trade agreements allow the Swiss economy to benefit from significant cost savings and also include sales of services. I took this info from a Swiss site, that's why it says Swiss economy. Anyways, intellectual property protection, investment, public procurement, and much more. Detailed information on free trade agreements, origin, rules of origin, and proof of origin can be found on the website. I'm leaving the link down below. Sale tax, where can I register and how can I be exempted from double taxation? If I use the Swiss company as an example, in principle, a Swiss company is subject to sales tax from the first sale in the destination country in question and must register itself with the relevant tax authority. For certain countries, a fiscal representative must be appointed, like Turkey. This applies to DDP deliveries, delivery duty paid. Forgot about those. In these cases, the seller acts as importer, bears the import costs, and becomes liable for sales tax. International shipping from overseas. There are 8 things to consider by my research. 8 most important. There are lots of things to consider, but I'm gonna go on with the 8 of these. It's estimated that global online trade crossed $1 trillion mark in 2015, not 19. That would be absurd. With cross-border e-commerce accounting for around 20% of that number. Despite this opportunity, some merchants are still reluctant to join the global marketplace. Strict cross-border regulations, that complexity of doing business overseas, the language barrier is one of the biggest examples to this as well. All make pursuing global e-commerce a challenge for many smaller merchants. While successful global e-commerce requires multiple parties working in tandem, it can be done profitably. The challenges that face international sellers can be divided into regulatory issues, payment processing, creating streamlined logistic process. By doing their due diligence, merchants can prepare for and overcome all the challenges. You need to identify restricted items. Every country has unique set rules about these, what can be sold and to even whom can sell these. For example, in some countries like New Zealand, the law could be outright prohibition, like the ban on certain dog collars in New Zealand. Other countries impose restrictions on some goods to protect their domestic industries. To import some goods into some countries, specific requirements have to be met. When unmet, the importer can be held liable for not meeting those requirements. This can lead into you paying extra or your product not getting into the desired country. With certain foods, many countries mandate that labels must display ingredients, nutritional values, manufacturing date, expiration date. Failure to comply may lead to customs restricting its passage indefinitely, plus a potential fine for violation. Now the customs, duties and taxes. Speaking of customs, every product imported to a country must clear customs before its delivery can be allowed. The check is to make sure the product is allowed in the country and to see if all country-specific taxes and duties have been correctly paid, as this fee depends on the value of the products and the country it's being shipped to. An e-commerce store can have some trouble keeping up with custom fees of different countries, which is why eBay doesn't sell some stuff to us, because their sellers are usually consumers as well. They can't pay the high shipping and extra customer taxes. Therefore, many merchants tend to pass this fee on to buyers in countries that charge what value-added tax and etc. Don't let this come as a nasty surprise to the customer. Update your site notice for international customers. This can help customers and also get you to sell some stuff more. Dealing with overseas suppliers can be tricky. A favorable exchange rate may mean you source products exclusively from overseas, like China, but dealing with overseas suppliers can present some difficulty. There may be language barrier, like China. Then there is possibility of doing business with people that have a different culture and set of values from you. All of this creates a situation with potential for misunderstanding and miscommunication. To get around this, you need to educate yourself about doing business in that country. The best way to do this is to find other e-commerce merchants who are currently importing from or exporting to the country concerned or desired. You can also contact the company directly for a list of references. A reliable overseas supplier should have a list of customers they have worked with who can vouch for their reliability. Beware the inaccurate addresses as well. A report by eCommerce Times states that failed deliveries cost large retailers on average of $85 every time. The retailers often have to ship replacement products as soon as possible. The increased cost of doing businesses hurts profitably. This is addition to the cost of clearing customs and paying for international shipping as well. Your reputation can also be tarnished, as the customer associates a failed delivery with the merchant and not customs, not the carrier. An unhappy customer with a bad shopping experience leads to poor word of mouth advertising, can lead to smaller e-commerce businesses cannot afford this. To prevent this occurring, verify each address during checkouts using a tool like PCA predicts address lookup and verification. Estimating transit time and cost can be tricky as well. It goes without saying that international shipping will take longer than domestic shipping. Despite this, some customers expect sellers to use any means possible, including air transport, to get their products delivered quickly before committing to using either. Merchants must look at costs and products. Can your product survive on a longer but cheaper sea trip, or are the goods perishable and require speedy but expensive delivery? As a merchant, figure out the most efficient way to get the goods into customers' hands in a way that still benefits your business. Display this shipping information on your site. You can leave the decision up to the customer as well. You want it cheaper by sea trip, or you want it faster through airmail. To insure and not to insure can be tricky as well when delivering goods across international borders. Regardless of the methods used, the risk of damage is much higher. Taking out insurance should be a no-brainer, right? It can't be. It also can't be as well. Some merchants try to save a buck or two by not taking the insurance. Doing this risks a double loss. If their goods are damaged during the shipping process, they'll lose the initial cargo and still have offer a replacement as well. How we can go up through this and not let this happen is always insure your goods. Know your true numbers. When planning your move across the globe, it's easy to make assumptions on costs. Merchants often focus on the lowest unit cost and are caught off guard when there is an additional unexpected cost. What is the product requires any extra processing like fumigation? What if there is a delay in delivery? Who pays the extra charges for expedited delivery, longer delivery? While these may seem far-fetched, it's best to plan for the worst. Factoring costs like transportation, brokerage services, banking fees, financing, to name a few. Knowing these will help you with your pricing strategy and enhancing the consumer buying experience. Shipping profitably is also a good thing as well. With the many moving parts required to successfully complete global shipping, it's no wonder merchants are wary about using it, but one of the secrets to being successful at e-commerce and going through customs as well is to figure out how to ship profitably and fast. By reducing your shipping expenses, you can develop a price range that is appealing to the customer and profitable too. And also, if the customs apply an extra VAT to your items, if the original item is lower in expense, the VAT will not make it go up through the roof with the extra payments, and customer will be happy about that too. I would be too. By this time, the profit to be gained from international sales might not seem particularly attractive, but this is where outsourced order fulfillment service come in. Businesses like Flowship exist to take the headache out of shipping internationally. When it's all said and done, international shipping is much trickier than domestic shipping, with all the extra payments. Customs are different in every countries. Some things you can sell some countries and some things you can sell to some countries, but with proper logistics systems and processes in place, your sales can be maximized by tapping into international markets, by partnering with an experienced logistics provider, preparing for preparing your every move, and preparing every paper for the customer. I mean customs to go for item to go through as well, and it will save you time and effort. This is pretty much it for right now. I'm gonna talk about Turkey's customs a bit tomorrow. I'm gonna talk about how coronavirus changed some custom regulations. That's pretty much it. Thanks for listening. I'm Kaya Diril. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Hope you are healthy. I'll see you tomorrow at class, or if you didn't watch this, I guess I don't see you. That's pretty much it.